Today we're going to talk about how to take interesting photographs. The subjects that I have on the screen basically are important for you to think about when you're taking your picture. To vary the distance between you and your subject, we are going to talk about first, which is the types of shots. Then I'm going to discuss leading your viewer. How do you direct the viewer to look around your photograph? You are in control of that if you choose to. The next one is composition. Basic principles of composition are the rule of thirds. Then we'll talk about different parts of an image, how to frame your subject, and just be aware of the surroundings. Now, the different types of shots, there are four. There are long shots, medium shots, short shots, and close-up shots. Examples of these for here is where the subject is far away. That's your long shot. The subject is the boat, and it's off in a distance. A medium shot is the subject's just a little closer to the camera, like this building. The short shot brings you closer to the subject. And the close-up photograph, of course, is extremely detailed. Now, when a photographer decides to direct their viewer around the frame, it is not that difficult to do. For example, this photograph, the shape of the photo, it leads you into the frame. There are four ways to lead a viewer: in, out, up, and down. And this little diagram on the right is the frame. When you look through your view, think of it as if you're looking through the viewfinder. So here we go. We're looking through our viewfinder and we're going to lead the viewer into the frame. I still have these grid lines as if I was looking through my viewfinder. Now, where the subject's positioned, it makes you look out of the frame. And where you're positioned and in the direction you're looking, this one makes you look up the frame. Now, if you're positioned at a high vantage point and you aim down, the viewer will look down the frame. So these are ways to control the way the person who looks at your photograph, the viewer, where they are looking. So, compositional rule is called rule of thirds. We still have that viewfinder, and it looks like a tic-tac-toe board. And depending on where you place your subject on this board will determine where the viewer may be looking. So here's the subject, placement on the side, the upper quadrant, and the subject's head is looking down. And so, of course, that makes the viewer look down. Now, there's different parts of an image. The foreground, which is in the front, and in this picture, it's like the brick window. The middle ground, that's our trees, and the background, which is the sky. So there's foreground, middle ground, and background. Next, we're going to talk about framing your subject. Using buildings, as you see here, and windows, you make the viewer look through these objects at your subject. So on the left, the image on the left is the subject is that flagpole. The image on the right is the boats. And the image in the center, the subject is the buildings in the background. And we call this foreground framing. The last thing I want to talk to you about is to be aware of your surroundings. If you look and see what these two photographs have in common and that are different. Basically, they both have a baseball player, Billy Williams of the Cubs, and another person talking to him. And some people in the background. But if you look on the photograph on the left, there's a flagpole coming out of his head. You look at the photograph on the right, the flagpole is not coming out of Billy Williams' head anymore. Simple way to solve that, I couldn't tell, I took these pictures, I couldn't tell Mr. Williams to move, so what did I do as the photographer? I moved. My vantage point is different, and now there's no pole coming out of his head. These are things I want you to be aware of when you take your photographs. Now, you could tie two compositions together, like the walkway and the building on the right. We connect it with this bridge. It's called an Aerobes. It connects two compositions together. If you've ever had a class in painting or drawing, you may know this term. You could do this when you're doing a still life, creating two compositions and then putting another object to connect the two. Or, as I did, the way I photographed this scene, I used that bridge as a natural Aerobes. So, in closing, you need to think about how you take photographs. You have to think, you have to be patient, you have to be observant, and you have to plan. These qualities are the difference between taking a photograph and taking a snapshot. Most people take snapshots. I am asking you to take photographs. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.